Good afternoon, fourth grade. We're going to continue reading in our novel about the American Revolution. And we're focusing on George Washington and what kind of leader he was. Our first question says, through much of 1782 to 1783, George Washington was with his army near Newburgh, New York. What does this statement reveal about George Washington? Okay, so when we're thinking about it, the statement tells us that George Washington stayed with his army. So this lets us know that he was a faithful leader. So in box 1A, you would write, this statement reveals that George Washington stayed with his army. This shows that George Washington was a faithful leader. Press pause to write down your answer and play when you're ready for 1B. It says, so, in part to lift their spirits, Washington created a decoration later known as the Purple Heart. What does this statement reveal about George Washington? Well, the phrase to lift their spirits means that he's trying to cheer them up. They were upset because Congress wasn't paying them, and so George Washington wanted to cheer them up. And if a leader tries to cheer up his troops or make them feel better, that lets us know that he's compassionate towards them, but he's also grateful for their service. And so in 1B, we would write, George Washington created an award to cheer up his soldiers. This shows that he is compassionate and grateful. Press pause to write down your answer and play when you're ready for box 2. And for box 2, we're going to go to the heading, to the caption and picture, Hudson Headquarters. And it says, use the caption to support the conclusion that George Washington was a loyal leader. Let's get ready to read. Washington could have gone home to Mount Vernon during the winter of 1782 to 1783, but he stayed with the army instead. The Americans were based close to Newburgh, New York, about 50 miles north of British-held New York City. The general lived in the Hasbrouck House next to the Hudson River. And we're looking for evidence that he is a loyal leader. And I would use this first sentence that says he could have gone home to Mount Vernon, but he stayed with the army instead. That shows that he is loyal. So in 2A, we would write, the caption reveals that George Washington stayed with his army instead of returning home. This shows that George Washington was loyal to his soldiers. Press pause to write down your answer and play when you're ready for 2B. It says, sacrifice means to give up something for someone or something else. What evidence from the picture reveals that Washington made a sacrifice by staying with his troops in New York? And so if you look at the picture, this is the picture of the house where George Washington stayed. His family is not in this house. His belongings, all of his things are not in this house. He had to stay somewhere else with his soldiers. So he was giving up time with his family, time with his business, to spend with the troops to finish out the war. And so in box 2B, we would write, George Washington stayed in the Hasbrouck House with his soldiers, instead of returning home to his family. Therefore, George Washington sacrificed time with his family to be with his soldiers. Press pause to write down your answer and play when you're ready for box 3. For box 3, we're going to go to the next page, to the section called Purple Heart. And we're going to read that section, and we want to know, Why did George Washington award soldiers the Badge of Military Merit? It says Washington created a Badge of Military Merit to award soldiers for outstanding acts of courage. Only 3 such badges were awarded, all in 1783. It was almost forgotten until 1932, the 200th anniversary of Washington's birth, when it was reactivated as the Purple Heart, a decoration for individuals wounded in action. And our question asks us, why did he award the Badge of Military Merit? And if we go back in the text, it says it was for outstanding acts of courage. And so in box 3A, we would write, George Washington awarded the soldiers the Badge of Military Merit for outstanding acts of courage. Press pause to write down your answer and play when you're ready for 3B. We're going to go to the picture of modern day Purple Heart. And this is what the modern day Purple Heart looks like. After reading the caption, the Purple Heart, what is the significance of the modern day Purple Heart design? And if you look at the design, it does have purple on it, but it also has the face, this is called a bust, of George Washington. And so we want to think about, why does it have George Washington on the medal? And that is because he created the award. So they put his bust on the actual medal. And so in 3B, we would write, the modern day Purple Heart design has an image of George Washington on it because he created the award. Press pause to write down your answer and play when you're ready for box 4. It says, what does the phrase one out of many mean? And in order to answer that question, we have to go up to the picture and caption that says the official seal. Let's read it. Congress agreed in 1782 on a concept for America's seal, based on Secretary of Congress Charles Thompson's above sketch. The motto, El Pluribus Unum, means one out of many. And we want to know, what does the phrase one out of many mean? And so when we're thinking about the many, that represents the many people that came to the United States from all over Europe. The United States is made up of a lot of people, all from different backgrounds. But it says we're one out of many, meaning even though we come from different places, we are still all Americans. We can still be united in our ideas about freedom and equality. And so in 4A, we would write, the phrase refers to all of the people from the different states that were unified into one country and one government. Press pause to write down your answer and play when you're ready for 4B. It says, how did George Washington's character exemplify Congress's motto? So in order to be unified, in order to be one out of many, you have to be loyal to your country, and you also have to be selfless. There are some sacrifices you're going to have to make for the good of everyone. And that's exactly what George Washington did. So in 4B, we would write, George Washington's selfless leadership brought unity to the Continental Army, which allowed the United States to win the American Revolution. Press pause to write down your answer and play when you're ready for the paragraph. It says, how did George Washington's actions during the last 2 years of war reveal his character? And you can use evidence from box 1 and from really all of the boxes to help you answer this question.